He's taller, younger, and truly fulfills me. That was the jab, tossed with a sly grin, her fork swaying in her hand like the words hadn't just sliced the room like a blade. She didn't flinch, just went back to nudging her overpriced scallops while her phone hummed beside the breadbasket. Across the table, I stared, nodded at her, through her, beyond the 42-year-old face I once thought I'd age alongside, beyond the $300 salon visit, the polished chuckle she'd mastered for brunches, and straight into the dark abyss where her compassion used to reside. She didn't say it to spark a fight. She said it like you'd comment on the forecast, like I was supposed to just nod and say, "Well, that's swell, darling. Glad someone's finally hitting the mark." I didn't ask who he was. No need. I just grabbed my fork and chewed a bite of steak I couldn't taste. The waiter swung by, asked if everything was okay. I smiled and said, "Perfect. Couldn't be finer." Lily let out a soft laugh, still scrolling. What was I supposed to do? Flip the table? Break down? Storm out and stick her with the bill? No, that would have cast her as the victim. That would have handed her the drama she craved, the sob story to text her little clique. OMG, he totally snapped tonight. I think he's on to something. So I didn't give her a show. I gave her silence. When we got home, I didn't trail her upstairs. I took the long route, past the mudroom, through the laundry where her red workout clothes hung damp, faintly stinking of a cologne I don't use, then into the den. The drawer in the far right cabinet was locked, and she never gave it a glance. I was the one with all the odd old documents. Inside, a black leather notebook, a burner phone, and a flash drive stashed in a hollowed-out copy of A Man's Way. Lily never caught the irony of that title. I sat at my workbench and opened the notebook. The first entry was dated 6 months ago. Lily lied about the gym again. Came home with wet hair, no towel. No gym bag either. Next entry. Car mileage spiked 17 miles during a yoga class. I didn't write every day, just the ones that counted, the ones that made me feel like I was losing it until I jotted them down and realized I wasn't. She was just that skilled at deceiving. Or maybe I was just that skilled at trusting. But tonight she handed me a gift. She confirmed it aloud, shamelessly, as if I were just background static to her real life. There was one more item in the drawer. An old Zippo lighter, silver-plated. It was my dad's, still engraved on the back. Measure twice, cut once. My father wasn't talking about woodworking when he gave it to me before he passed. He meant people. I set the lighter beside the flash drive and stared. Something in me locked into place, cold, precise, clinical. She wanted war? No. War was chaotic. What Lily was going to get was excision. Surgical. Silent. Complete. Upstairs, the shower kicked on. She was humming. Humming. After saying that, I opened a fresh page in the notebook. At the top, I wrote 2 words. It starts. Then I grabbed the burner phone and began syncing it to her cloud accounts. She never logged out properly. Her arrogance was the only gift she ever gave me freely. The next morning, Lily handed me a coffee mug like she hadn't gutted me the night before with 9 words that still ricocheted in my head. He's taller, younger, and truly fulfills me. And there she was, smiling like the perfect wife, humming to some playlist called Shine and Soar. I took the mug and nodded. Didn't drink, just held it long enough to feel the warmth seep into my palm while I gazed out the window. "I'm hitting the gym tonight after work," she said, eyes glued to her phone. "Might be late," I replied, with the same even tone I used when my boss once asked if I could cover a shift on Christmas Eve. She gave a quick peck on my cheek and glided out the door in a too-tight athletic jacket and leggings that weren't even worn at the heels. Brand new. She hadn't been to that gym in weeks, but she didn't know I'd checked. I called to ask about renewing my own fake membership. Turns out Lily hadn't scanned in once in over a month. Probably a glitch, the front desk said. Sure thing, I'd replied. The only glitch was in my marriage, and I was done trying to fix it. That night, I didn't go to bed. I waited until 11:47 p.m. when she finally came home, smelling like a hotel lobby and guilt masked as lavender cream. She kissed my forehead as I faked sleep on the couch and said, "You passed out here again?" I mumbled, "Didn't want to disturb you." The charade had become its own quiet stage play. She played the carefree wife. I played the checked-out husband. But beneath the silence, I was working, watching, planning. The burner phone was clutch. Her main phone, some pricey titanium status symbol, was linked to our home Wi-Fi, so every notification pinged my private setup in the basement office. Deleted texts, not really gone. I saw them all. The gym was code for a guy named Matt. Turns out he wasn't that clever or cautious. One Tuesday, she sent a message that stuck with me. "He looks like a lost puppy. I almost feel guilty, but then I remember the mortgage is in his name, smirking face. That one I printed, highlighted, filed. The house had turned into a silent battlefield. I moved into the guest room, told her I had heartburn. She barely cared. That room became my war room. One wall was covered with timelines, printed bank statements, parking stubs, credit card records. I found she had a second debit card I never signed off on. The charges, mostly restaurants, makeup, and 2 Uber rides that ended at a hotel I'd never heard of. And the voice recorder, man, the voice recorder, it was a small black cube hidden under the passenger seat of her SUV. Nothing fancy, just a discreet device with motion activation and a killer memory card. I listened to hours of her calls. One night, she told someone, probably Matt, that she couldn't wait until the old guy finally croaks so she could travel. What floored me wasn't that she said it. It was how easily it slipped out, like she was ordering extra fries. Each word wasn't a wound. It was a rasp against my backbone, scraping something deeper than fury. It wasn't the infidelity that finally broke me. It was the ridicule, the breezy, group-texted, mimosa-charged ridicule of the man who paid the mortgage, replaced her tires, and still kissed her goodnight when she faked sleep. Rachel talked more after that. She didn't know she was speaking to a man who'd already filed initial divorce papers, who had a PI's report locked in a drawer, who knew where Lily went, what she spent, and who she messaged after 11 p.m. Rachel just thought I was a weary husband craving someone to listen. And maybe, in a way, she wasn't entirely wrong. I began playing the long game with her, dropping just enough hints to make her feel trusted. I even mentioned offhand, if I ever left, I wouldn't shout. I'd just leave a note and disappear. She laughed. "That's so you, Nathan. Quiet and dignified." I smiled, and in that moment, I knew something she didn't. She was going to deliver Lily that note. Not a literal note, but something much weightier. An envelope. One that would make every witty anecdote Lily shared at brunch lodge in her throat. Because betrayal stings. But being mocked by someone who vowed "I do dash," that's the bone crusher. And Rachel, she just volunteered to be the edge. It arrived on a Tuesday. No heads up, no chit-chat, just a sealed padded envelope tucked under the doormat like it was a misdelivered parcel. The PI had texted, "It's all there. Call it airtight." I waited until Lily left for her yoga and bites night, a phrase so absurd it no longer even irked me. I watched her drive off, taillights fading like the last shred of respect she ever showed me. Then I took the envelope to the garage. The garage was my last stronghold. My tools hung in order, my father's workbench pristine, the Mustang under its tarp like a loyal friend biding its time. I sat on a stool, tore the envelope open, and pulled out a USB drive, a manila folder, and a stack of glossy photos clipped in sets of 3. The drive first. I plugged it into my laptop and pressed play. Lily's voice crackled through a hidden recording from a hotel room. She was mid-giggle, breathless, smug. He still kisses my neck when he thinks I'm out. So pathetic. It's like watching a dog guard a house that's already been looted. A male voice, Matt, no doubt, snickered. You think he's catching on? Nah, he still sorts my clothes. I swear he thinks if he presses his way through this, I'll suddenly forget I'm bored to death. Another laugh. Then the gut punch. Honestly, if I fake a moan, he'd probably ask if I bumped my knee. I hit pause. Not quick, not out of hurt, just to breathe. Then the folder. Receipts, dated and marked. Weekday hotel stays at the Meridian Suites. Champagne ordered at 1:17 a.m. room service for 2. Always 2. Gym fees charged to the room, despite her claims of yoga classes. I recognized her handwriting on one receipt. She'd signed the tab with a little star next to her name. Next, printed texts. The PI must have mirrored her messages somehow. Lily and Rachel. Lily and another friend named Tara. Lily and someone in her work chat named Alex. Dash face blowing a kiss. He made me coffee last night after I got back from Matt's. Said he wanted me to feel cared for. I nearly choked laughing. I could call out the wrong name in bed, and he'd still think it was his fault. Am I awful or just playing the game? LOL. That one made me pause. Just stare. I didn't feel anger. I felt something sharper, clearer. Anger is a blaze. This was frost. Precise, contained, focused. I closed the folder and opened a new browser tab. Bank login. Joint savings shifted to a private account. Her access cut off. Then the life insurance policies. I had 3. She was the beneficiary on 2. I changed them quietly, legally, permanently. One now funded a scholarship in my father's name. The other, a charity she name-dropped for social points but never gave a dime to. I pulled out my will, last updated in 2014. Back then, I still believed forever was a shared vow. I sat with a red pen and started crossing out. Her name vanished from every line. House, cars, savings, all reassigned. I added a note at the bottom. Any party found to have committed financial or marital fraud shall be fully excluded. I didn't need her to read it. The lawyers would handle that. Then I opened a password manager and began updating logins. Bank, legal, cloud storage. Anywhere her name once had a foothold, I changed the keys one by one. No theatrics, no emotion, just the steady hum of a man sealing the last hatches on a ship ready to sink. I returned to the garage, poured 2 fingers of whiskey, and sat beside the covered Mustang. I hadn't driven it in years, but I would soon. As I sat, her voice still echoed in my mind. Her giggles, her quips, her certainty she could mock me, play me, and still come home to a man too courteous to break the rules. But she forgot something. Courteous men don't scream. They strategize. Hey, so I'm throwing a little birthday brunch thing next Sunday. Low-key, just a few friends. Wanna come? She asked it while scrolling her phone, not even glancing up from whatever curated drivel her friends were posting that morning. Her tone was light, dismissive, like she was inviting me to a yard sale, not her 43rd birthday. I looked at her across the kitchen counter, slowly sipping the coffee I'd brewed 30 minutes before she even stirred. She'd added almond milk, nutmeg, and 3 lies already by the time she tossed out the invite. "Sure," I said. "Wouldn't skip it." She smiled, just a flash. Not warmth, more like smug confidence. The kind you wear when you think you're still calling the shots. And just like that, she handed me my arena. A public brunch with her inner circle, the same one she dished to about my tired eyes and dull bedroom game. The same crew who saw me as a clueless ATM with high blood pressure and bad shoes. She wanted a show. She was going to get one. That night, I opened the manila folder again. Divorce petition drafted, polished, printed. Evidence packet, receipts, texts, synced recordings, even parking logs from the condo. My lawyer had vetted everything for precision. We were holding legal TNT, just waiting for the spark. But that wasn't all. I'd also dug up her company's employee handbook, available online with the right keywords, and found their code of conduct. Paragraph 6. Any behavior that may damage the company's reputation or indicate a breach of ethical standards, particularly when documented by third-party evidence, may lead to immediate suspension or termination. Translation: cheating might be a personal failing, but mocking your husband's finances, lying about work-funded hotel trips, and doing it all on a company device, that's a corporate offense. So, I compiled a tidy, neutral packet, not vindictive, just factual, timeline, evidence, short cover letter. Everything an HR rep would need to hit the panic button. All of it went into a plain envelope, sealed, unmarked, lethal. Then came the final piece, the delivery system, Rachel. I met her for lunch that Wednesday. I picked the outdoor patio of a cafe near her office. She showed up in oversized sunglasses and perfume that didn't quite hide her unease. She ordered a mimosa. I ordered tea. "You good?" she asked, peering over her glass. I shrugged. "Honestly, better than I've been in years." She tilted her head, wary, intrigued. "I need a favor," I said, sliding the envelope from my jacket. "No pressure. But I think you'll get it." She didn't touch it, just stared. "I want you to give this to Lily at her brunch." "She won't see it coming from me," I said. "She'll see me there, think I'm just playing along." "But you've been there. You've heard it all. You know what she's done. What she said." Rachel looked away. "She doesn't hold back. She stripped me bare, Rachel, to my face, to your faces. She made me the joke of her whole social world." Silence. Then Rachel took the envelope. "I'm not doing this for you," she said. "I'm doing it because I'm tired of laughing at someone else's cost." I nodded. "That's enough." We didn't talk for the rest of the lunch. Just sat in that strange, still quiet. She didn't finish her mimosa. I paid. By Friday, I'd locked in the trust transfers, shifted assets, canceled her joint credit cards, set alerts on any attempts to touch my accounts. I even bought a new suit, not loud, just cleanly tailored, deliberate. Sunday morning came quick. She spent an hour primping, hairstyled, lashes done, lies perfected. She spritzed perfume like she was marching into battle. And she was, only she didn't know it yet. Because I wasn't bringing rage. I was bringing an end, with paper, with silence, with the very friends who helped craft the stage she performed on. I wasn't going to wreck her day. She'd already done that herself. The brunch was at a trendy farm-to-table spot Lily loved to call Rustic Luxe Dash. The kind of place where eggs arrived on weathered wood planks and the mimosas cost $18 but came with a lavender sprig, so you felt like you were getting a deal. I showed up 10 minutes early wearing the new suit, charcoal, fitted just enough to hint I hadn't quit yet. Freshly shaved, shoes gleaming, I smiled at the hostess, gave Lily's name, and was guided to the patio. She wasn't there yet. Ideal. I claimed the corner seat, slightly off-center, near the server's path, a spot for someone who doesn't crave the spotlight but still commands the view. And this was a performance. They arrived gradually, Lily's colleagues, friends, a former college buddy who once crashed on our couch at 2 a.m. but still sends holiday cards. Everyone who fueled Lily's carefully crafted circle of adoration. They smiled at me. A few offered polite hugs. One asked, "How's work going?" "Good," I said. "Expected." They nodded. No one dug deeper. That's what you say to a man you've heard about in group chats, the dull one, the one they called sweet but basically furniture. Then she swept in. Lily glided through the door in a pale blue dress, carrying that rehearsed air of grand entrance she perfected in the mirror, thinking no one saw. She lit up the table with a laugh before even sitting. "You guys are too much," she said, flailing her arms like their presence was a gift she hadn't earned. I said low-key, "And you still went all out." She kissed cheeks, gave theatrical hugs, leaned in just enough for everyone to catch the glow of her curated charm. She'd never looked more confident or more brittle. Then she spotted me. "Sweetheart," she beamed, coming over with arms wide. I stood, gave a brief hug, and kissed her cheek with the precision of a diplomat greeting a rival before a summit. "You look amazing," I said. "You scrub up nice," she replied, her usual backhanded praise she never realized cut. She claimed the center seat like a monarch at her crowning. Friends raised glasses. A toast was made. I joined with a sip of grapefruit juice. No booze. I needed a sharp mind. Talk flowed and dipped. They dished about coworkers, home remodels, awful Tinder dates, some friends' filler mishap. I offered nods, subtle smiles, asked a few questions to seem engaged. Then, mid-story from Lily, something about her Napa getaway with the crew dash, a trip I funded, Rachel walked in. Late, naturally. She made an entrance, but not one that stole the show. She wore black, understated, no jewelry. Tucked under her arm, like a clutch, was the beige envelope. She kissed Lily's cheek. "Sorry, traffic was brutal." "No biggie," Lily chirped. "So glad you're here." Rachel sat beside me. Didn't speak at first. Just glanced my way barely. No smile, just a faint nod of recognition. I returned a slight nod. That was it. No fanfare, no big moment, just a signal. It was go time. Lily was deep in a tale about some junior colleague at her firm, mocking his flashy watch and overeager vibe. The table laughed, nodded, sipped mimosas, and played along. She had them hooked, right where she loved them, orbiting her, the queen of sly charisma. Rachel stood quietly. No speech, no glass tap, just 3 soft steps to the table's head, holding the envelope gently like it was a greeting card, not a bomb. "It was, though." "From Nathan," she said. Nothing more. Lily turned with a bright grin that wavered the second she caught Rachel's tone and expression. Rachel wasn't smiling, wasn't joking, wasn't playing the game. Her face was granite, ice cold. "Thanks," Lily said slowly, forcing a chuckle, trying to spin it before it landed. "What's this?" "A love note." No one laughed. She opened it. First, the papers, divorce filings, pre-submitted, dated, neatly typed, addressed to her, signed. Then financial statements listing every account she no longer controlled. Next, a copy of her company's ethics code with the key violation circled in red. Then the receipts, hotel bookings, Uber routes, restaurant tabs, all in her name. And finally, the flash drive. She held it up like it was toxic. Probably recognized the brand. Probably recalled borrowing it from the drawer for photos of that Vail retreat that was really just her and Matt. Her smile hung on it first. It quivered, propped up by some frantic need to perform. But her fingers shook. Her shoulders tightened. Her breaths grew shallow, subtle unless you were studying her like a predator, which I was. She flipped through the pages again, slower, reading the words that laid out in crisp legal terms that everything she thought she owned was already gone. Then she hit the final page, a brief note, not from a lawyer, from me. "This isn't vengeance. It's liberation. You said you were bored. Now you're free." The table's silence grew heavy. Mimosas sat abandoned. A spoon clinked as it fell. One friend, Tara, shifted and suddenly got lost in her phone. Lily looked up, face drained. eyes flicking between Rachel, me, the papers, the drive, then around the table begging for someone, anyone, to speak, to save her. But no one did. Not Rachel, not Tara, not her coworker Jenna, and definitely not me. She tried to talk, but nothing came. Her jaw twitched once, twice. Her hand shook and she jammed the papers back into the envelope as if that could undo them, as if hiding the truth would erase the fact that her empire had crumbled in under a minute. Her voice finally cracked, thin and unsteady. "Is this a prank?" Rachel sat back, crossed her legs, picked up her mimosa. "Do I look like I'm joking?" And that was when Lily realized no one was rushing to her side. No one was laughing. No one saw her as the wrong party. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping back loudly. The sound carried across the patio. Sweat beaded on her brow. Her mouth opened again, but there was no speech, just quick, shallow breaths. She looked at me. I tilted my head. That's all. No smirk, no triumph, just a look that said, "You built this." "Not me." She snatched her purse with the clumsiness of a bad actor missing their mark and bolted from the table, nearly knocking over a potted plant by the gate. No one chased her. One by one, the guests glanced at me. Not accusing, not upset, just silent. I raised my glass. To moving on, I said quietly and took a sip. Lily didn't so much leave the table as escape it. Purse half open, hair mussed, envelope gripped like a live wire. Her heels clicked unevenly on the patio stones. For the first time in maybe 20 years, she looked unsteady. No practiced poise, no calculated charm, just raw panic. The gate clicked shut behind her with a faint metallic snap, like a final bow. Curtain down. I stood slowly, straightened my jacket, picked up my phone, which I hadn't touched all brunch, and slipped it into my pocket. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said, nodding at the stunned group. "It's been revealing." No one answered. Not out of anger, but because they understood. That kind of silence isn't confusion. It's clarity. One by one, their eyes dropped to their plates. Rachel caught my gaze briefly, then looked away, not from guilt, just confirmation. I walked out without another word. No need to explain, no scene to create. Let them sit in the ruins of her act, stunned at how fast the stage fell when one string was cut. By the time Lily got home that afternoon, her key card no longer worked for our joint accounts. She tried the bank. Security questions failed. She tried my phone. I let it ring. At 7:03 p.m., she texted, "We need to talk." That was harsh. "We can still sort this," I replied with one word, "No." At 8:47 p.m., she sent another, "Matt's freaking out. You dragged him into this," and then, I'm guessing she called him because at 8:52 her messages to him stopped going through. The PI had found his vulnerabilities. Turns out Matt had more at stake than she realized. He worked for a gym his cousin owned, and they were under review. The moment that beige envelope hit, so did a digital copy with files. He blocked her within the hour. The next morning, Lily got an email from HR. Her company launched an internal investigation, misuse of work devices for inappropriate personal communication. Violation of conduct code. Attached were timestamped screenshots she never thought would surface. By noon, she was temporarily suspended pending review. Her assistant was told to clear her desk. Lily didn't even get the chance. She called Rachel 5 times. Voicemail. Tried texting, delivered, no response. She turned to social media, liking an old post, commenting like they were still brunch buddies. Rachel blocked her by nightfall. By day 2, Lily's world was stripped of every crutch she'd leaned on. Matt gone, friends mute, job slipping through her polished nails. And me? I was already out. I checked into a hotel by the river, quiet, secluded, room with a view. Spent the afternoon skimming the news with my feet up. No phone nearby. A local jazz trio played in the lobby bar. The whiskey was smooth. The silence was complete. She called again that night. 3 rings. 4. I watched the screen light up, buzz once, then go dark. She didn't leave a voicemail. Of course not. What could she say? "I didn't think you'd actually do it. I thought you were too tired, too slow, too tame." The truth is, she thought I wouldn't see her. She never expected I'd look right through her, past her, and build a life that didn't include her. Now she was left shouting into a void where every voice that once amplified her cruelty had gone silent. And I had no need to raise mine. The river was calm that morning, smooth as a mirror, barely stirring even as a light breeze rolled off the water. The kind of quiet most call unsettling. I called it deserved. 2 weeks later, the final signatures came through. Lily didn't fight a thing. Not the terms, not the disclosures, not the asset split, not even the clause about public slander, which my lawyer had woven in with surgical precision. It was done. Papers filed, stamped, final. She hadn't called since her last failed try. Just went silent. Vanished from social media. Word from a mutual contact who didn't know I'd already heard was that she'd taken some time to reflect and heal. Translation: she was humiliated professionally, socially, personally. And me? I was at a riverside cabin she used to scoff at, called it too plain, too remote, said it smelled like damp wood and nostalgia. Funny, now it smelled like cedar, freedom, and strong coffee. I'd even refinished the porch myself. There was something about the work, sandpaper, stain, effort that made everything feel solid again, true. Nothing lurking beneath. The Mustang was parked out front, waxed, tuned, ready to roll. I hadn't driven it since I moved my father's tools to storage. Now I took it to the local market every morning for milk and bread. It drew looks. No one asked questions. I sat on the porch with a novel I hadn't opened in years, something about redemption and ruin. Poetic irony. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Just 3 words, she's still reeling. I stared at the screen for a beat. Not because I was tempted to reply, there was nothing to say. Just the weight of it. The quiet proof that the blade I'd set in motion hadn't just struck, it had buried itself. But revenge? That wasn't the goal. Accuracy was. I deleted the message. Didn't save it, didn't capture it, just erased it, like the woman who once stood in my kitchen and said, "He's taller, younger, and truly fulfills me," as if those words wouldn't burn forever in a man's mind. No, now she was just a shadow. No chaos, no blaze, just an empty space where something poisonous once thrived. The river gleamed as the sun climbed higher. Somewhere across the water a heron called out. I leaned back, breathed in the cedar, and held it in my chest for a moment before letting it go. Slow, steady, done. Not because I needed closure, but because she did, and I'd already delivered it in a beige envelope with silence at brunch.